This is Duke University.
Thanks everybody for rejoining. I'm Richard Newell. I'm the director of the Duke University Energy Initiative. And what I'll do for the next little while, we have until about 1:55 for me to present an update on the Energy Initiative and also to take whatever questions you have, maybe have some time for discussion. And I'm not going to give you a full lowdown on everything the Energy Initiative is doing and where it came from. I'm presuming that you have some level of familiarity with that, and rather I'll focus on kind of updating you on what we've achieved over the last year. But very briefly, what the Energy Initiative is doing is really bringing together all of Duke's assets in the energy space across 6 schools. So this involves engineering, arts and sciences, law, policy, environment and business school, as well as connected to the Nicholas Institute for Environmental Policy Solutions. And we're looking at programs in the area of education, research, and engagement with business and policy decision makers. So the 3 major challenges that we're focused on in the Energy Initiative is you can think of as the economic challenge of energy, the environmental challenge, and the security challenge. The economic challenge in energy is meeting the needs for energy growth, which globally is on a track to increase 30 to 50% over the next generation. Energy is plays a fundamental role in quality of life and human development. So challenge number 1, how do you meet the needs of a growing global energy system? Challenge number 2 is that people don't only need energy, they also need a clean local and global environment. Energy production and use is a major source of environmental pollution. And so challenge number 2 is reducing the environmental impact of energy at the same time that we meet growing needs for energy. And then the third major challenge you could think of as a security challenge. This is multifaceted. It relates in part to energy as a strategic global commodity. Recently what's been happening with Ukraine and Russia, the implications of that for European consumption of natural gas, how the United States thinks about that, and then thinks about sanctions on the energy system, but then yet needs to think about the ripple effects back to us in terms of how that affects our own economy. That's just one example of how energy is an important geopolitical issue. It also, though, relates to more local issues in terms of the reliability and security of the electricity grid and energy infrastructure. So third major challenge is security. So the way that Duke has approached energy is really the way that society needs to approach energy if you're going to imagine solutions that have a chance of actually working and moving forward on these 3 major challenges, which is doing so from an integrated cross-disciplinary approach, because it's not just new technical solutions, it's not just an effective marketplace, it's not just effective and efficient policies, it's really the interface of these 3 things that is required if you're going to imagine change in the energy system that advances on these 3 challenges. So that's kind of the big picture what we're focused on. I already talked about who's involved in the Energy Initiative. So these 6 different schools, Nicholas Institute. In my role as director of the Energy Initiative, I report to the provost, so this is truly a university-wide endeavor. I already talked about the 3 major pillars, education, research, and engagement. To distinguish what we're doing here at Duke in the energy space from what some other universities are doing and what other institutions do, is that we're not just focused on one piece of this puzzle, we're really bringing together the different kind of 3 major pillars of what universities do in any space, but applied to energy. So we have a role to play in curricular and course development on the education side. We have a role to play in integrating research across the university and energy space, as well as undertaking some targeted research under the Energy Initiative itself. And then the third major pillar in terms of our approach is engaging with the business and policy community to get ideas developed at Duke into practice, to bring working practitioners to Duke to enrich what we do here, and to also get students into the field through things like field trips and internships and jobs, so on. So I'm going to go through the education piece of this, the research piece, and the engagement piece, and give you some highlights about what has happened over the last year. So first in education, this tells a story about the richness of what is currently on offer at Duke in the education space. We've got over 150 students that are enrolled in seven different energy degree programs. So these range from concentrations in energy at several of the professional schools, an undergraduate certificate in energy and environment joint between Trinity and Pratt, an undergraduate energy engineering minor in Pratt, which was just created this year, as well as some other programs. We've got over 1,400 students enrolled in 53 different energy-related courses, and this cuts across six different schools, and many of those schools have individual departments and units, so really over 15 different units. In terms of key accomplishments for this year, one thing that I'll show you in a moment is defining what we call energy pathways. That's this thing which you can find on our website. It's actually the landing page. So if you go to energy.duke.edu, which is the clearinghouse for a lot of what's going on at the university in the energy space, and you go to the energy education page within that, you will come to the energy education pathways. So what this does, it really was meant to kind of synthesize the complexity that you saw on the previous slide and put it in an organized framework so that students who are interested in what Duke has to offer in the energy education space can understand what those offerings are. It's for faculty like us to be able to understand ourselves and to be able to explain to existing students, and also for students once they're here to navigate the wealth of what's on offer. So what this does is for different learning levels, so undergraduate arts and sciences engineering, at the professional level, the different schools, and then at the graduate, master's, and PhD level, different degree programs, different course offerings, different experiential learning opportunities like research projects, capstone projects, and then also different professional development engagement opportunities. Each of these is a clickable link that you then can dive into, understand what's on offer in those different areas at Duke. So this is kind of a clearinghouse for energy education meant to be put in an organized way. So this was a big advance this year, really just to get this together, put it in a way that was digestible, but yet kind of showed you the depth of what's on offer. Second thing that we did this year is we launched a new program called Bass Connections in energy. So Bass Connections is another university-wide program which was launched a little over a year ago with a significant gift from Ann and Robert Bass. And what it's put in place is an opportunity for applied experiential education along 5 different themes. The 5 themes are energy, global health, information and society and culture, brain and society, and education and human development. And so energy is one of these 5 themes, and there's a number of different aspects to what this Bass Connections program has, but the key elements are really kind of 3 connections along 3 different dimensions. One is connecting students across different learning levels, so connecting graduate students with undergraduates, postdocs, and faculty members. It's connecting across different disciplines that could be brought to bear on these different problems, and it's connecting Duke to the wider world. So it has an explicitly applied orientation and a multidisciplinary orientation, and energy is one of the 5 themes. So what this meant, a key aspect of this is project-based teams. So last spring, with the help of folks across the university, but also importantly, Kyle Bradbury here, at the time postdoc with the Energy Initiative, we launched the Bass Connections and Energy program. We had 7 teams this year, and so now they're just wrapping up. That was very successful, and then we had a request for proposals, and next year we'll have 8 teams. Some of the ones that function this year will be carrying on, and some new ones will come as well. So you can check out our website. If you just Google Bass Connections Energy, you'll find information on the project teams. Encourage for those of you who haven't already gotten involved in that to get involved in that. Really great experience for students. And actually tonight, after this, we have some of the posters are probably already out there, some of the results of those different project teams. Third major accomplishment in education this year is an energy internships and jobs portal. I may have an internet connection here, but I'm not going to risk it. If you go again to the education part of the energy.duke.edu, we now have a place where you can go, where students can go to understand how to navigate the identification of energy internships and jobs. And really what this does is it connects the resources across the university and career services and other opportunities and brings it together and puts an energy lens on that. As we move forward, we now have a more centralized way of identifying energy internships and jobs. And so now that we have a system, we can increasingly populate that with opportunities for the student. Fourth major accomplishment in education, 2 new energy degree programs. I already mentioned the energy engineering minor was launched at Pratt, and a new energy finance concentration in Fuqua was developed, focused for MBA students. At the same time, we've had a number of new courses that have, some of which have developed along with these new curricular programs, right? So when you design a new degree program, you have to have a curriculum underlying that. Usually what that results in is a process of taking stock of what you've currently got, asking the question, is what we've currently got what the students need to have expertise in this area, and usually leads to the identification of some new courses. So we've seen some of that with these 2 new degree programs, so new courses at Pratt focused on the technical side of energy, as well as some new courses at Fuqua related to energy finance. I'll also mention there's going to be a number of new courses next year that some of which haven't even been announced yet, but there'll be a new course in energy finance, open university-wide. There'll be a new course in applied energy economics. There'll be a new course in what I think of as kind of big energy data analytics, so the intersection of energy analytics and big data. There'll be, Jonas will be teaching a course in energy law in the fall, is that right? In the fall, and some other ones that I probably don't even know about. So really good progress on the degree and course program front. And finally, I've mentioned here Steve Hicks. Steve joined us, new Associate Director for Energy Education, to kind of spearhead these various efforts. I'm going to, for the sake of the video, I'm going to take questions after I kind of go through. All right. So next piece of the puzzle is energy research. So as we have identified here, there's research, particularly when you have a cross-disciplinary and multidisciplinary approach like we do with this, research takes the form of technological and scientific solutions. It takes the form of solutions in the area of markets and finance, and also in the area of policy and other societal issues. So pretty rich set of issues in energy research. Major accomplishments this year. One, you can think of kind of the identification and inventory process continued. So we have now at the research part of energy.duke.edu a database which identifies all of the faculty at the university that have expressed an interest in energy as one of their research topics. So that is now a searchable database. You can search by school, you can search by keyword. It helps other researchers identify one another. If you're trying to put together a research team, it helps students identify faculty. It helps external folks who are interested in what Duke has to offer identify that as well. So we've continued that. We've continued also the process of identifying where the core strengths and interests are of Duke faculty in the energy space. We've listed a number of those here. Energy data analytics and computation, ranging from statistical analysis to machine learning to energy modeling, is a key area of competence. Energy decision making at the individual level, at the firm level, and at the government level. I think we'll see a number of examples today of research in those areas. Research at the intersection of energy consumption efficiency and grid security. Advanced energy materials. In the sessions earlier today, we also saw a number of papers on energy materials, and there's at least 20 faculty alone across the university that have some intersection there, as well as many other graduate students and research scientists focused on that. With a clear orientation, I think you saw this earlier, application of energy materials to alternative fuels and renewables, be it hydrogen or solar. And finally, the nexus of energy with other strategic resources like water and food is another important area of focus. We launched an energy research seminar series. So the way that this works, and I'd like you all to take advantage of this, is rather than create a new standalone energy research seminar series, the approach we're taking to that is partnering with existing seminar series. And so if you go to the part on our website where this is listed, basically we're offering funds that existing series, if you want to partner with us in bringing an energy speaker to the university. We require a pretty simple application, identify that it's going to be a distinguished person, and that it's energy focused, and that it'll have an interested audience here at Duke. So we'll partner with existing seminar series to do that. So we're hoping to take even more advantage of that next year. We launched that late this year, so that's something for you all to be thinking about over the course of the summer. We also launched our Energy Research Seed Fund. You saw some examples of that earlier, and I'll have another slide on that, so I'll come back to that in a moment. And then also a number of targeted research projects completed more directly under the Energy Initiative umbrella. So let me give you a couple examples of those. I'll start on the right here. Daniel Ramey in a bit will actually present some results on this shale public finance project, so I won't say anything more about that. Another area where we've had some significant effort is comparative analysis of long-term energy outlooks. So these are energy forecasts that look at short, medium, or long-term future of energy supply, what demand would be, what technologies, how does that depend on evolution of policies and market structures, et cetera. And we've both done in the form of publication in various books, and then also we're asked by a group called the International Energy Forum, which is a dialogue and process between the International Energy Agency member countries and OPEC member countries to take stock of a lot of different issues under that umbrella. But one of the things they do is take stock of what their different outlooks are for the future energy system. And so we did the background paper for that, building on our other work in comparative energy analysis. So Energy Research Seed Fund. So one thing that you're seeing here is kind of a two-track approach that we're taking on the research front in the Energy Initiative. One is catalyzing new collaborations among the general faculty, and the Research Seed Fund and the sponsorship of the Research Seminar Series, and this event is a key way that we're doing that. And the other is targeted research, which is more research which I tend to be directly involved with. Energy Initiative research staff tend to be directly. So it's kind of a two-track approach. Energy Research Seed Fund we launched. I think it was very successful, and we actually pulled this together in a sense a little bit late. May not have seen that, but it was later than I wanted to do, but we still got some really great response. And the way that we structured this was to support new multidisciplinary collaborative research teams. The idea is these are grants up to $40,000 per project. The idea is to not fully fund long-term research projects, which tends to, particularly if you get into the area of science and technology, tends to require much larger sums of money than that. For a social science project, actually $40,000, you could probably often do it. But the idea is to get preliminary results and then set the stage for getting external funds. This has been successful in other areas, but this was the first time we did it for energy. We had $215,000. We got 12 proposals from I think over 6 different schools. Had a lot of participation. We're able to fund about half of those proposals in a number of different areas. I would say the one focal area that came out of that was in the intersection of energy materials and renewable energy, and then a couple other projects that we funded. One was on the intersection of shale gas development and water resources, and the other one was on an energy data analytics project, which on industrial energy efficiency, which involved linking confidential census data, for which we have a center here at Duke, with data from a Department of Energy program in industrial energy efficiency. So kind of a different statistical methods for linking data, some of which is confidential, which presents interesting challenges. The final piece of this puzzle, the third pillar, is energy engagement, and there's a number of different ways that we've approached that. One is through events. We have our monthly energy mix, which we will have tonight on the heels of this meeting. We've sponsored a number of different workshops. We had a series that was funded by the Mellon Foundation, which looked at issues in Western Hemisphere energy. So we had one focused on Venezuela, one focused on Mexico, one focused on Canada, and one focused on Brazil, which was just last week. We've been able to co-sponsor other workshops, like an Arctic energy workshop, which Lori Benier and other faculty members held last week. There's a number of Duke faculty. I just got a couple examples here who are engaged in all aspects of energy policy making. This is an interesting one here. This is Amy Pickle, who's been on the North Carolina Mining and Energy Commission, which has been developing the natural gas regulations that would underpin natural gas development in the state of North Carolina. We have an annual energy conference, which has key support from the professional students, particularly the MBA students. Ask Katie Cross about that if you want more information about that. And I think that about covers that. Other developments I'll mention, this building. So we had a multi-year process. So the energy initiative was the first thing in this building when the whole thing was vacant. I forget how many, maybe dates back probably 5 years ago at this point. So the first piece of this building that was renovated was just that atrium. That's been that way for a while. And then there was a couple lecture halls. But then over the last year, the entire building was renovated. So we have, the Energy Initiative has a new space over there. On the second and third floor, we also have some very good partners in this building. So we have the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative on the first floor. On the second floor, we have the Social Science Research Institute, which has good connections. On the third floor, we have laboratories, some of which will be housing faculty that work in the area of energy research. And we also have the Information Initiative at Duke, headed up by Robert Calderbank, which is on the kind of the big data side. So we have a lot of different things going on in this building that are mutually very synergistic with what we're doing in the Energy Initiative. So that was good. And then still in the works is the one piece that hasn't been renovated is the basement. It's actually sizable. And so what's in the process for the basement is a design kitchen, which would be project-oriented, particularly providing space for student and student faculty research projects in a flexible manner. So if there's people who are interested in that, we've had a process underway. I guess I would say maybe talk to Kyle, and he'll connect you to the right people to let you know a little bit more about what's up with that project. No, yeah. No, the ingredients are nuts and bolts and electrical components as opposed to food. Food for the soul. All right. Second thing I want to mention is an energy task force. So over the last couple years, we developed a robust internal advisory structure. So the Energy Initiative has an executive advisory council, which is made up of the provosts, the deans of the different schools, myself. It has a faculty advisory council, which is made up of faculty representation from each of the different entities involved. We have a student advisory council. The thing that we didn't have, but that we started this year, was more of an external advisory task force. And this has been very useful for us in getting feedback, particularly from many Duke alumni that are heavily engaged in energy issues from the NGO point of view, from the industry point of view, from the government point of view. And they're giving us kind of advice on how we engage externally. Our government relationships, our industry relationships, our development relationships, because all this stuff takes resources. And that's underway. We have our second task force meeting in New York in a few weeks. We've been very active in a number of different development events across the country. So the energy and the Energy Initiative is one of 4 signature initiatives in the Duke Forward campaign. For those of you who don't pay attention to university development campaigns, the university is currently has a $3.3 billion development campaign underway, and energy is one of the elements of that. And so a number of us around this room are involved in identifying opportunities for where increased funds at the university would help us to build our energy efforts further. I won't go into all those opportunities, but it relates to all the things that make a university tick, like supporting new faculty, student fellowships, ability to build curricula, offer things like the Research Seed Fund, have convening and events, and so on. All the kinds of activities we've already talked about. And the final thing I'll mention is some new energy faculty hired. And this is kind of interesting about how faculty get hired through different mechanisms, right? So there's the routine process of refreshing the faculty when people retire or move to another university. There's the process of, there's these things called the Faculty Enhancement Initiative and the Joint School Institute faculty hiring process, which for those of you who are not familiar with, the university provides incentive funds for sponsoring faculty positions that are joint with institutes and initiatives, like the Energy Initiative. And so these first 2 hires here at the Sanford School were both supported by basically a joint hiring effort between the Sanford School of Public Policy and the Energy Initiative that was under this program. So that came from university funds that helped incentivize that kind of collaboration. Different story for Pratt. David Mitzi was hired to Pratt into the material science and, mechanical engineering and material science department. Works on thin film solar from IBM Research. Mike Lynch was hired as a research scientist, works on biomass, bio-applications of energy, as well as synthetic chemistry. At Fuqua, Brian Bollinger is hired from NYU Stern School of Business. This was just part of the what I would think of as kind of the normal routine hiring process. And part of the good news here is that they had a number of different candidates. They weren't looking for an energy person, they were looking for a really good marketing person. But because they identified a really good marketing person who was also focused on energy, which has good synergies around the university, there was an orientation toward that would be a good thing to bring in somebody like that. John Bewley is a new professor of the practice also at the Fuqua School of Business, focused on many aspects of corporate finance, including energy. And the final person I'll mention is Drew Schindel, an atmospheric climate scientist who will be joining the Nicholas School this fall. That truly is it.